Leo.
Hello Leo, this is your forecast for June 2016, and how has May been working out for you with all the slowdowns of the planets? And I know a lot of you listen to the following month's forecast in the month prior, so for those of you still in May listening to this, 5 out of those 8 planets retrograde, right? So the slowdown process has had a purpose and still has a purpose for us going through summer. So the good news though is that once Mercury goes direct again there May 22nd, that will be out of our here. Jupiter will be going direct there 9th to 10th of May, depending on where you live. So that's opening up for all that enthusiasm that Jupiter represents, abundance and so forth. So that should be good. So when we start off June, at least those two will be direct, but we still have Mars, we got Saturn, we got Neptune, and Pluto retrograding. And we'll talk about that too, how that is going to be affecting us. But here in June, we have the Sun, Venus, and the new moon in your area of social activity. So you're going to probably be out and about, spending a lot of time with friends, but with the retrogrades you might be reconnecting with friends from the past as well, and that's always a beautiful thing to catch up and so forth. And with the retrogrades it might be clearing out old karma. That's also a good thing. It's time to let go, release, let God, and open up these doors. But the Sun in this area, that's you. Venus is what you love, what you're passionate about. Also in this area, the 11th house is not just friendships, it's also your hopes and dreams. So having both the Sun and Venus here is allowing you to look at what it is you want in the long term. And having the new moon here, which will be on June the 4th, 14 degrees in Gemini, is allowing you to really connect with that new source, that new energy that's like a little seed opening up, growing here for what you can come to expect by the full moon next month at this time, or also next year at this time. So the new moon has the power of 1 month and a year to actually fulfill its cycle. So it is also when we write that abundance check to ourselves. If you do that, that is the day to do so. But it's also planting your intentions. And the intention should be looking at your hopes, your dreams, your friendships, and so forth, and put down intentions that you want to keep this good energy going for the remaining part of until next year, June. Then we have also Mercury now having retrograde back into your 10th house has allowed you to really tweak and look at what you're doing in your career. Is this what you want, or do you want to change it up? This has given you extra time to figure it out, to contemplate it, but now that Mercury is moving direct, you will come to see that things are picking up and you're moving forward now in your career, and that should all be a good thing. Mercury being in the sign of Taurus allows you to really focus on not just the job you're doing, but the money that you're making there, because Taurus is all about security and money, Mercury communication, so you might have talks. And this would be a good time to have those talks with your supervisor or your boss. Mercury's not coming back to this area for a whole year. So make the most of it. When we start off top of the month, Mercury will currently then be at 17 degrees. So you have like the better part of a near 2-week window to make that work for you. Mars is in your, let me find it, 4th house for home, family, foundation, your roots, your past. And so Mars is your goals. It's your direction. It's also your physical activity and energy. So you might feel that some of this now, the slowdown period for Mars in this area, gives you that time to do those things that you want to do at home. Projects that you've just been pushing aside, thinking, I'll save that for a rainy day. Well, that rainy day is here now. And Mars will be retrograding to June 29th. This allows you that time allotment to clear out that garage or the attic or the basement, whatever it is, or to upgrade things. Now it might move a little slowly and there might be a little, hiccup here or there due to the retrograde, but it is also a time where you can make the most out of it here right now, because Mars is going to take 2 more years before it gets back to this area where you can work on your foundation. So anything that you're doing here with family or within the home, on the home, is a great time and a good way to use this Mars. Jupiter now moving direct is in your 2nd house, so if you feel that income or money-making opportunities might have slowed down since New Year's, that's when Jupiter went retrograde. Now it's picking up speed and you will have it here till later on this summer. So now you can start seeing how this is going to pick up, and that opportunities might start coming your way again. So do pay attention to those, because those can be great. It's going to be 12 years before Jupiter will come knocking on this door again. So you've had it since that of late summer of last year, but now you're in for the home run here throughout June, July, coming into August. So you have those weeks to really make Jupiter expand your area of personal income. Saturn is retrograde until August 12th or 13th, depending on where you live in the world. And Saturn is our inner sense of authority. It's where we take responsibility. It's where we feel we have burdens to carry. For you here, Leo, it's in your 5th house, the house that you rule. And it has to do with self-expression. It has to do with love and relationships. Also your creativity, the businesses that you own. Now here too, this retrograde is working, slowing things down, but only to a point so that you're able to see the details. Because when it moves direct, we don't always get all the details because we're busy doing other things. But this slowdown allows you to grasp more of your own inner sense of mastery, of what you can bring to the table, and what you then, when Saturn will go direct again, you can start expanding this area of your own business or also your relationships. Now, to go along with this Saturn, we have the full moon on June 20th. At the very last degree of Sagittarius, the last degree of your 5th house, before it goes into the 6th house of day-to-day routines and how you interact and work with your co-workers. So it's going to bleed over into that area on the 21st, but on the 20th, it's going to illuminate this area of romance and creativity. So that is always a great thing. So circle that on your calendar. To go through more of the retrogrades we have after Saturn, we've got Uranus, which is direct. For your sake, it's in the 9th house, having to deal with contracts, foreign contracts, visas, publishing agencies, studies, any kind of courses that you might be taking, higher education, spirituality, and long-distance travel. Uranus here will be receiving a couple of aspects on the 12th and 14th we're going to be talking about. This might activate your need to either travel or connect with somebody in faraway places, or also planning, wanting to study something. But that should be great days for you. Then we have Neptune. Neptune is retrograde from June 14th straight through November 20th. And for you here, Cancerians, that's going to be in your 8th house. So throughout this time, which is quite several months ahead, having it in this placement is going to allow you time to look at shared resources, what you have with your partner or with who you work with tightly one-on-one. So it doesn't just have to be with your significant other. Say if you're working within a group that deals with royalties, commissions, that kind of thing. This is where Neptune will be working. Investments, it could be that, or also inheritance. Now, when Neptune is retrograde, we just want to make sure, though, that whatever agreements are taking place, that we read the fine print. So just like with Mercury retrograde, we want to make sure that Neptune has everything clearly stated here, since it has to do with monies and so forth and resources that are important. So just make sure that you validate and verify everything that you do agree upon at this time. Then we have Pluto retrograding to September 26th, which will then be your 6th house for day-to-day routine, your co-workers and so forth. So this area too is in a phase where things are just rolling along, and sometimes we don't really feel the retrograde of Pluto, but it does mean that these deeper sense of transformations, they are at work, but slowly, day by day. Sometimes we won't even see it before in the aftermath. But yeah, it also has to do with your dieting, the foods that you eat. Do you work out enough? Do you need to start working out? It will give you time to kind of slow down, to focus on that you in fact do have a physical body. Sometimes we're so busy that we don't even think we have a physical body, right? So for that reason, Pluto here is great for you, Leo. But it is a little bit of a tricky month, not just due to the retrogrades. What it is that we're going to be encountering quite a few sets of squares and oppositions. Just like we had a very good run there at the beginning of May, those first couple of weeks. Well, this month is going to be a little bit more challenging. It starts off with the Sun and Venus both on the 1st, squaring off on Neptune. And Neptune, when it's really in a good place, Neptune rules our visions for the future, our hopes and dreams, our creativity, our spirituality, and so forth. But when we have the squares between the Sun, or from the Sun and Venus, the Sun being you, Venus what you desire, what you love, well, you can find yourself saying something and thinking you're expressing yourself clearly, but where it might be received on the other end like something totally different. This is where Neptune can create an illusion of. So on the 3rd, the Sun and Venus, the same two planets, are going to be opposing Saturn. So if there's any miscommunication, it will be addressed on the 3rd, and you might hear somebody saying, well, you said this and you said that and you promised this, and you'd go, no, that's not what I said. You know, it's one of those situations. Or maybe you might have picked it up differently from what it was actually expressed from somebody else. So just a little careful here on the first few days, just to make sure that later in the month it won't come back to bite you on the butt. Now on the 9th though, we have Mercury, which rules communication. It is going to be opposed to Mars, which is your physical drive and your action, your goals. So your attention, your mind might be going down this side of the highway, and you're heading the opposite end. So it's not just being between a rock and a hard place, but your attention in two total different directions. So that can be a stressful day. You might find and encounter that people around you are very somewhat aggravated or short-tempered and so forth, but then you'll know where that is coming from. They're not totally aligned either, right? And we may not be. So lay low on the 9th. On the 12th and the 14th, mind you, is great days to look forward to. Here we have Venus. That is what you love, what you desire, things that you hold close to heart, with an unexpected good news coming from Uranus. So that will be here for you from the 11th house of hopes and dreams and friendships, groups and organizations, and the 9th house having to do with a higher understanding. Might have to do with maybe getting some results of tests, since it has to do with education as well. Or maybe you will hear news, say from a publisher, if you're waiting on it. Or it could be visas. Anything, maybe even a lawsuit, the 9th house rules that as well. But that is the 12th. Venus rules love, it rules romance, and it rules money. So anything along those lines that are important to you may be what you will be hearing about. On the 14th, pretty much the same here too, Leo, because the Sun is you, receiving from the same area of that 9th house coming in. So those 2 days you definitely do want to circle on your calendar. But then we have some more tricky days, and this is between the 17th and the 20th. Saturn which represents our inner sense of authority, but it's also external authority. It's also the government, you know, the rulers and so forth. Here in a square to Neptune, Neptune may not be very direct. There could be illusions being spun, untruths, or I won't say direct lies, but it could be that as well. But something that's showing a certain face, which is not the true thing. That can be now counter, should I say, discussed on the 20th, when Mercury will both oppose Saturn and it's going to square on Neptune. So this creates more so, I feel, within the political area globally, is where we can see headline news, where something is going on in some government, some country or nation that is not easy to deal with. The energies aren't really all that good, so we're just going to have to work with it and work through it. Then we have on the 20th also that full moon, which I mentioned, 29 degrees in Sagittarius. For you, that's in the 5th house of self-expression, creativity. You're going to find that this could be a romantic evening, but it's also on the cusp of the 6th house, so it's going to bleed over there into the 21st, into your day-to-day routines, your co-workers, and so forth. So we have that on the 20th. But then we have, towards the end of the month, a really sweet aspect, or two aspects. In fact, on the 26th, Jupiter, which is now moving forward, so it's reopening up the gates of abundance, enthusiasm, joy, and so forth, making things easier for us, coming into a golden beam with Pluto, your pivotal point of transformation. Now, your Pluto is in the 6th house for day-to-day routines, and that Jupiter is in the 2nd house for money, income, the money that you make or will be receiving. This is just a day where things are feeling really sweet. On the 27th, Venus for romance, but also money, will be in a beautiful aspect to Neptune. So Neptune is our hopes and dreams and visions and so forth. So this could be a romantic end of the month. 26th, 27th, both, I feel, can be great days. So we want to circle down those days that we do know will work for us. And of course, it all depends on where your personal planets in your natal chart is, for where these planets, these transits, are going to be triggering and ricocheting in your own chart. So that, of course, is a totally different story. But I would say, for more insight too, to listen to your tarot-scopes that are being posted now for June. I give you a different type, more insights of people too, interacting in your life and what you can expect now, what June can be all about for you. So listen, Leo, I wish you a great month, and I'll see you next month. So have a good one. Bye now.